You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, days and days. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're having a great night, day, weekend, whenever you're checking this out. We have Beverly Hills Cop Axel F coming out July 3rd. So about 6 weeks out from when I'm recording this. So I have a bit of a confession. I have only seen Beverly Hills Cop one time. And because we've got the Beverly Hills Axel F coming out, we have that coming out, we have Bad Boys 4 coming out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go through and I'm going to start reviewing some of these things. Like, I've seen the Bad Boys films probably 10 times a pop at least. I fucking love those movies. But I'd never seen the Beverly Hills Cop films. I know I saw the first one back in, like, middle school or back in high school, pardon me. But I hadn't really seen it since, and I actually have the trilogy on Blu-ray, and I went, wow, I haven't watched these. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go through and start watching these. So I've got a review for the OG for Beverly Hills Cop, which came out in 1984. Of course, it stars Eddie Murphy. So I want to put a couple things in perspective before I dive into the review proper. I think people forget, and I know Eddie Murphy around, I know around 90... around 98, the wheels start to fall off a bit. But when you look at Murphy's career from 82 to like 89, just to go through a few films: 48 Hours, 1982; Trading Places, 1983; Beverly Hills Cop, 1984. He's on SNL by this point. He does Party All the Time, which, fuck y'all, that song is great. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I love Party All the Time. It's so wonderfully bad. That's 85. Golden Child, 86. Beverly Hills Cop 2, 87. Coming to America, 88. Harlem Nights, 89. Another 48 Hours, 1990. He does Boomerang in 92. That is a fuck of a streak. And again, I know the wheels do eventually fall off because he ends up doing shit like, The Adventures of Pluto Nash by 2002, and like Norbit in 07. Like, I understand. I understand where, from like 06 to 2010, it's 2012, I would say, too, because he does fucking 1,000 Words in 2012. Jesus Christ, I hate that movie. I get it. I get how bad it gets, but that run I just read you off from like 82 to 92, that's one of the best runs maybe in the history of Hollywood, especially for a comedian. Like, that's a banger after banger after banger. So I think we do need to give Eddie Murphy his props in that sense. In between what he's done more recently, between Coming to America isn't great. The sequel. And You People, I have not seen, but I heard that's not great. I heard Candy Cane Lane isn't great. I realize I'm just undercutting my point right now. But he did Dolomite Is My Name in 2019. His return to SNL was fucking fantastic. Murphy can still hit. So I'm actually really excited about Beverly Hills Cop 4. And I will say, with the last Bad Boys film, that's the best one out of all three of them. So there is a world where this Beverly Hills Cop 4 ends up being the best one. So I wouldn't sleep on that movie. I will simply say that. But the film proper goes ahead and introduces us to Axel Foley, who of course is played by Eddie Murphy. And I will say, it's kind of a trip to see like prime Eddie Murphy, like just before he's Eddie Murphy, to see him in this light with the perspective of what he ends up becoming was actually pretty cool. Like to see this like skinny, like super young, super young Eddie Murphy was a trip in the best way. But the film proper, we go ahead and we're introduced to Axel Foley, who straight from jump, one of the things that I love about the movie right out the gate is that you can tell that he's got the silver tongue. He's all about being able to talk himself out of shit and talk himself out of these situations that he gets into. And so he's going ahead and he's busting up or attempting to bust up this this drug trafficking ring involving these guys who have stolen this truck of Marlboros, if memory serves, which of course the deal ends up going bad. And I will say, for this being a film in the early 80s, in 84 here, I thought this actual chase sequence was really well done. The guy who's driving the truck, because of course these cops fuck it all up. Foley's trying to go ahead and smooth talk this guy, and these cops show up, see him, and go, "What the fuck is going on here?" And so of course Foley can't tell them he's a cop, or he's gonna get fucking shot. And so the cops will go ahead and try to apprehend all of them, and that leads to the guy, to one of the henchmen, getting in the front of the car, getting in front of the truck, and just driving off. And the damage, the damage that this truck does, it's kind of great because the guy driving the truck could not give a fuck about human life or not hitting shit. It's almost like like Crazy Taxi, where you get more points for fucking shit up. And for a film in the 80s, I really appreciate seeing all this collateral damage, because it actually adds to the emphasis and adds to the actual degree of danger that this movie is trying to establish from jump. Something that I love about this movie too is that when he goes ahead and he gets back to the precinct after all this damage has been done, he's stopped the truck. His boss, Inspector Todd, played by Gilbert R. Hill, rest in peace, sir. He, ironically enough, wow, that's a trip. He actually died in 2016, February 29th. He actually died in Detroit. That's a trip, damn. But I love, like, it's very much like Ice Cube in 21 Jump Street. I'm the police captain, I'm black, and I'm angry. And Gilbert R. Hill nails that shit. But to be fair, Axel did just fuck up, like, a bunch of shit. Like, fucked up a bunch of shit. You actually see some of the playback, like, on the news. And Axel's like, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of fucked up, but we stopped the truck, so yay. But I love the way that the captain is just clearly over him. I do wish we would have learned, like, how long Axel had been working at Detroit PD. I don't recall them actually ever saying how long his tenure was. But he, of course, is told, "You're on thin ice. Basically, get the fuck away from me before I go ahead and fire your ass." And Inspector Todd is one of the few people that Foley really can't, like, he can't sweet talk him the way that he's able to with, like, civilians and kind of out in the field. But again, it does a really good job of showing how Foley is able to kind of maneuver around the politics of being a police officer while still trying to be able to go ahead and actually get justice. And I think the film does a really great job of establishing that. But the film really goes ahead and kicks into high gear as we are introduced to Axel Foley's one of his best friends, played by James Russo, in Mikey Tadino. I really dug the chemistry that they had right out the box. James Russo from quite a few things, actually. He's Dickie Speck in Django Unchained. He's Bob Madden in Not a Stranger. Trying to think of what else. Oh yeah, he's in The Ninth Gate. The Ninth Gate's actually pretty good. I think people kind of unfairly hate on the Ninth Gate, but from jump, they really have a really cool chemistry, and it's actually cool to see how, like you can feel the camaraderie between the two of them, and these two actors, and especially this being, a really early starring vehicle for Murphy, to see him already have that charisma and be able to connect with actors so easily is really cool to see, and obviously bodes well for his future. But unfortunately, the reunion between Mikey and Axel is very short lived because Mikey ends up getting killed pretty soon after they go ahead and reunite. And what I like about this being set in the 80s is that there's really no, and obviously being filmed in the 80s, there's really no thrills in terms of the action. And I don't mean that as a negative. I mean that the action is there's a very harsh reality to it. That's one of the reasons why I love um, the first Lethal Weapon so much. There's no kind of like funny kills. Everything feels very blatant. It feels very dark. It feels very real. And so when Mikey gets off, you're like, oh shit, like oh my god, he's dead, and he's actually killed by fucking Jonathan Banks, which tripped me out. I had no idea Jonathan Banks was in this, and that made me so happy. Plus, Jonathan Banks is also in Gremlins, another 80s classic, and I was so happy. Like, seeing Jonathan Banks with hair, too, was a was a very big mind fuck. He looks better bald, by the way. But the look that him and Axel end up exchanging, I love that. It sets up that, that unstoppable force versus the immovable object type relationship, and you're just kind of waiting for that showdown the whole for the rest of the film, which I think delivers in spades once we get there. But because this happened, because the shooting happened basically in Axel's apartment, he's basically told, like, you're not doing anything involved in this case, like, don't even think about it. So he goes ahead and goes to Beverly Hills because that's where Mikey said that he was living. That's where he said his boss was. And so Axel goes ahead and goes from Detroit all the way to California. It's a really good setup. It takes about, I would say, 20-25-ish minutes. Like, I think that the film does a really good job of setting up the pieces. You do need to hang in there, though. And because this is the start of a trilogy, once you get this out of the way, the setup for 2 and 3 are a lot easier because you know who Axel Foley is. You kind of know the dynamic that he has within the Detroit PD and everything. So it's a lot easier to get off to the races in that way. But this is kind of similar in pacing, I would say, the Solo, in the sense of there is a lot of stuff they are setting up on the front end, but once that stuff is set up, the film is really able to hit that next gear, and it really never stalls for me, or I never felt any lag once we got past the first act. So Axel goes ahead and ends up in Beverly Hills, and what just I love one of the first sequences that he has in Beverly Hills. He goes ahead and shows up, and it's Beverly Hills, little nicer than Detroit, just just slightly, just a little nicer. So Axel goes to check into this hotel in Beverly Hills, and again using that silver tongue because he knows how to talk his way out of shit, or into shit in this case. He goes ahead and says that he had a reservation. Of course, he didn't, and pulls the whole "you don't allow niggas in here" in here bit. A bit I admittedly have probably used once or twice in my life, and this works twofold. A, it shows again how smooth a talker he is, but B, let's be honest, would it be that far out of bounds to assume that a Beverly Hills high-end hotel would just quote lose unquote a black reservation? Not at all. And so it does work on multiple levels, and it's quite great, actually, that whole sequence. So he goes ahead and gets checked in, and then it's all about finding Zach, and it's all about finding his boss, who's played by Steven Berkoff, Victor, because those are the men who, of course, went ahead and killed Mikey. You, of course, know Steven Berkoff from a ton of shit. Clockwork Orange, which, God, I haven't reviewed A Clockwork Orange. I don't know if I could review Clockwork Orange, but that is a great fucking movie. And of course, Olaf from Octopussy. But I love the sliminess of just kind of these '80s bad guys. Like, there's no thrills to them. They're just assholes. They're just dicks. And there is that slight bit of racism as well attached to them, because they're stopping just short at points when they're interacting with Foley of just calling him boy. Like, you feel that you kind of feel that vibe from them, which again actually enhances the movie and enhances the intensity as Axel gets closer and closer to learning the truth. I haven't mentioned it yet, but this is unapologetically 80s, down to Axel's Detroit jacket, which, seeing that in the trailer for Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, I won't lie, I got chills. I was like, it's his jacket, that's pretty cool. But this movie is unapologetically 80s, down from the Beverly Hills Cop classic theme to hearing Patti LaBelle stirred up. It is unapologetically 80s in its score, and honestly, I actually listened to the score a little bit before I started recording here, and the score is just fun. Like, I just have fun with the score. As Foley is going ahead and getting deeper into his investigation, he runs into Beverly Hills Police Department, and he ends up meeting Detective Billy Rosewood and then Sergeant Taggart, who of course are played by Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, respectively. Judge Reinhold from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the Santa Claus. He's really great in the Santa Claus too. I think people forget about that. And then John Ashton, of course, from Midnight Run, Some Kind of Wonderful, and Gone Baby Gone. And the moment this trio is on screen, the movie just takes off. The wordplay between all three of them is so much fun. It's very playful, but it's also like, please don't get involved in this investigation. This is bigger than you know. You flew halfway across the country. This isn't even your fucking job. Why are you here? There's so many dynamics to that trio that works so well, and it's fun. It's very engaging. It's very witty. Judge Reinhold's Billy Rosewood, he clearly is kind of in that space where oh gosh, I'm blanking on the character's name. He's kind of like Danny Butterman. He's kind of like Nick Frost's character in Hot Fuzz, where yeah, he's seen some stuff being in Beverly Hills PD, but he clearly wants to be more than just a desk jockey. Like, he does want to kind of get out in the field more and kind of cause a little bit of chaos, cause a little bit of trouble. And so the Foley Rosewood dynamic comes across very endearing, because yes, of course, Foley wants to go ahead and find his friend's killer, but he's also helping these guys who are very straight-laced, potentially to their detriment, kind of go ahead and get out in the field more and kind of stretch their muscles a little bit. Foley's a very necessary evil to both of them in that sense. And as the film goes on, you see Taggart start to open up more. You see Rosewood start to open up more. And you see Foley, while he is definitely on this rampage to go ahead and find these two killers, he understands, like, you see Foley kind of learning to strike the balance between, renegade and actually, on occasion, following the rules. And so all three of them learn from each other, and it really does come across as fun and really endearing the more the film goes on. I haven't mentioned them yet, and I need to. Surge. I didn't know Surge was a thing. Surge is wonderful. Who's played by Bronson Pinchot is what I'm gonna go with. He goes ahead and he's this person who works with Lisa Eilbacher's Jenny Summers, who is a childhood friend of Foley's, which, again, you see Foley interact with someone who he has history with, and it never feels like the history is forced. It feels like they actually know each other and have history together. And anytime Ilbacher and Murphy are on screen together, and they're just having conversations about Mikey. The way that he drops the bomb about how Mikey got killed, and the way she sells that shock, like, holy shit, like someone that I've known for years, someone that I helped get this job, they're no longer here. As even though this movie is funny, and it definitely has some really great comedic moments, one of which I'll get to in just a moment, the drama never feels out of place. It never feels shoehorned, and I think for an '80s film in particular, where I think a lot of films can fall into that trap, props to them for really knowing how to strike the balance between the drama and the comedy and making it all work together in tandem in a way that I think is really underrated, quite frankly, for this film. So, of course, as I mentioned, Rosewood and Taggart are told to keep Axel in line, make sure he doesn't fuck shit up. And there is this there's this point where they're stalking him, like they're tailing him outside his hotel, and Axel wants to go ahead and follow up on this lead. And just to show you how removed I am from these movies before doing this first time watch, the banana in the tailpipe bit, I was more familiar with that from Clerks, the animated cartoon, than I than I was from Beverly Hills Cop. When I actually saw Foley get the banana, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's from this. That's not from Clerks." It was actually really funny to see it in live action and see it in practice. And Foley, man, again, Foley's just slick. There's the more we learn about Foley, especially later on in this film, they don't go too deep into it, but they give you just enough to kind of make you go, oh, okay, this makes sense. Where you find out that Foley wasn't always straight laced, that he wasn't always a cop, that he did some illegal shit that probably made him more of an asset to the Detroit PD, and the fact that he has that kind of background and how, you know, hustlers and stuff think probably actually enhances his ability as a cop. And I actually like the way, like, they don't go too deep on it, but they go deep enough that you're aware of the knowledge that he probably has. And so it actually makes Foley come across more credible and actually adds a nice kind of third dimension to his character as far as why he's a cop and the experiences that he's had. As I wrap it up here, I thought the final shootout was really well done. Like I said, every bullet has a meaning. All the action stuff really does hit for me. Foley sending them out food, sending them out room service, while he goes ahead and gets away and puts the banana in tailpipe, I thought was a fucking stroke of genius. And that was when they go ahead and eventually do catch him. He even points out, like, look, you guys look famished. I understand how it is on stakeouts. Like, I was looking out for y'all. And I mean, of course, it's completely disingenuous, but also there's a little bit of genuineness to it, because you do understand that he's actually starting to like these guys, even though they're trying to derail him from capturing his best friend's killer. And then, of course, inevitably, when Jenny goes ahead and gets kidnapped, because of the relationship that Jenny and Axel have established and her actually helping him at multiple points in this film, you actually care about her well-being. You care about Axel, Rosewood, and Taggart being able to go ahead and close this case out. I haven't mentioned him yet, but but Lieutenant Bogomil, who's played by Ronnie Cox, you don't get a ton of him, but man, he's fucking great. And again, the chemistry that him and Murphy have, also along with some respect that's built up, you really go like, okay, like Foley wants to do whatever he has to by any means necessary, but at the same time, he respects him because he understands where he's coming from. And I think several of the conversations they have throughout the film really do hit. You know Ronnie Cox, of course, from RoboCop, Deliverance, and Total Recall, to name a few. But getting to my final thoughts here, I really dug the final shootout, as I mentioned. This definitely sets up for a sequel, which of course we do end up getting. But I had a lot of fun with this movie. I was actually surprised by how much fun I had with this, and I actually went straight from this one right into the second one. So if that tells you anything, like this film had me engaged the whole time. Um, I would give this. What would I give this? I'd give this an A minus. I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with this. So, they're streaming on Paramount Plus, all three of them right now. Um, so if you don't have Paramount Plus, I know they do like a 7-day trial, which I would highly recommend. But I really enjoyed this, and this is definitely something that I could see myself just throwing on kind of casually. But yeah, check out Beverly Hills Cop. It's a really fun, easy watch. This is like it's a hour 45, so just under 2 hours. Like I said, I think that first 20-25 minutes you get that set up, but once that happens, man, this movie just hits a rhythm and just never slows down. So I really enjoyed this. Solid A minus. But Beverly Hills Cop, have y'all seen it? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments. You can go ahead and follow me. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe. It definitely helps me out. Find me on YouTube at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me on Blue Sky at realpineapple.bsky.social. You can go ahead and follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and the Twitter at jhunterrealpineapple. That's a J Hunter and then REEL and then pineapple. You can follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam, and I do stream on Twitch, so follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheRealPineapple. Like, share, subscribe. You can find The Real Pineapple pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts, to name a few, at The Real Pineapple. I'm gonna have reviews for Beverly Hills Cop 2 and Beverly Hills Cop 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2, 3. I'm gonna have reviews for Beverly Hills Cop 2 and Beverly Hills Cop 3, leading up to Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley releasing on July 3rd. So keep an eye out for those reviews, as well as other reviews, including reviews for Challengers, The Fall Guy, which should all be up on the channel by the time y'all hear this. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, take care of each other, and never forget, as always, to keep it real.